In Brussels, disbelief ripples through the European Union as leaders and citizens alike grapple with a development few could have predicted just a few years ago. Two nations, Hungary, a full EU member, and Serbia, an official candidate for membership, are now openly considering joining BRICS, the influential economic bloc led by China and Russia, which has been steadily expanding its reach and influence on the world stage. This isn't a minor spat or a fleeting disagreement. It represents a potential crack in the very foundation of European unity, a unity that has been carefully constructed and maintained over more than 70 years of treaties, negotiations, and shared ideals. The world is watching closely, as this move could signal a dramatic realignment of global power, challenging the post-Cold War order that has defined international relations for decades and raising questions about the future of Western alliances. For the European Union, the prospect of a member state drifting toward BRICS is not just a diplomatic headache. It's a profound challenge to the EU's identity, its cohesion, and its influence both within Europe and on the global stage. This development accelerates the ongoing shift toward a multipolar world, where old alliances are tested, new partnerships are forged, and the lines between friend and rival become increasingly blurred. The actions of Hungary and Serbia reflect broader trends sweeping across the globe: rising economic nationalism, a push for greater sovereignty, and a growing skepticism toward traditional Western institutions. At the same time, there is a clear desire among many nations for a greater voice in global affairs, a seat at the table where decisions are made, and a chance to shape the rules of the international system. As we explore this historic pivot, we must ask ourselves, is this an isolated act of defiance, or the first sign of a deeper realignment that could fundamentally reshape not only Europe, but the entire world order in the years to come? BRICS began as a simple economic acronym in 2001, coined by a financial analyst to describe the rising influence of Brazil, Russia, India, and China in the global economy. At the time, these countries were seen as emerging markets with high growth potential, but little formal cooperation. Over the next 2 decades, however, BRICS evolved far beyond its origins. It became a formal bloc, holding regular summits and establishing its own institutions, such as the New Development Bank, to fund infrastructure and development projects outside the traditional Western-dominated financial system. In 2024, BRICS underwent a historic expansion, welcoming Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iran, Egypt, and Ethiopia. This move not only increased its membership, but also transformed BRICS into a formidable geopolitical force, with influence stretching across multiple continents and key global regions. Today, BRICS represents a significant share of the world's population, GDP, and energy resources. Its member states collectively account for over 40% of the global population and a substantial portion of global economic output, making it a major player on the world stage. The bloc's appeal lies in its promise of economic cooperation and mutual benefit, without demanding adherence to Western political models or conditions. This flexibility has made BRICS especially attractive to countries seeking alternatives to traditional alliances. For many nations in the global south, who often feel constrained by Western-imposed conditions, BRICS offers a new path to prosperity, development, and greater international influence, one that is shaped by their own priorities and interests. The growing interest of European nations in joining or partnering with BRICS is a testament to its rising stature and the shifting dynamics of global power. The European Union now faces a powerful new reality. BRICS is no longer just a counterweight to Western influence, but a magnet for countries and leaders seeking to rebalance their global ties and shape a more multipolar world order. Hungary, a member of the European Union, and Serbia, an official candidate for EU membership, now find themselves at the very center of a growing geopolitical storm. Both countries, located in the heart of Central and Eastern Europe, are making moves that could reshape the continent's balance of power. Their actions are drawing attention not just from Brussels, but from capitals around the world. In a bold shift, both nations are signaling their intent to align more closely with BRICS, the powerful economic bloc led by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This move represents a significant departure from the traditional Western orientation expected of EU members and candidates. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has taken the unprecedented step of initiating a formal review of BRICS membership, making Hungary the first EU state to openly consider joining the group. This decision has sent shockwaves through European political circles, raising questions about the future direction of the EU itself. Meanwhile, Serbia, increasingly frustrated by the slow pace of its EU integration process, has declared its intention to apply for BRICS partnership. Serbian leaders point to their country's deep historical, political, and economic ties with both Russia and China as key reasons for this pivot. Hungary has repeatedly blocked EU actions against Russia and China, often standing alone in opposition to the majority of its European partners. This defiance has further strained relations within the EU. At the same time, Serbia has signed a major free trade deal with China and has steadfastly refused to join Western sanctions against Moscow, underscoring its commitment to an independent foreign policy. Both Hungary and Serbia have welcomed billions of dollars in Chinese investment, fueling infrastructure projects, factories, and trade routes that are deepening their economic ties to the East and making them key players in China's Belt and Road Initiative. Their dramatic pivot eastward is forcing the European Union to confront a reality it has long tried to ignore. The unity of the bloc is no longer guaranteed, and new alliances are reshaping the future of Europe. Hungary and Serbia's pivot to BRICS is driven by economic pragmatism, political ideology, and national identity. Orbán frames his outreach as protecting Hungary's sovereignty from Brussels' overreach, while both nations see BRICS as a gateway to investment without Western strings. Chinese capital flows freely, and the promise of partnership without political lectures resonates deeply. By flirting with BRICS, both countries gain leverage in negotiations with the EU, playing East against West to maximize autonomy. Historical ties, Serbia's with Russia, Hungary's sense of grievance, fuel this eastward drift. The BRICS alternative now seems not just viable, but desirable for leaders eager to deliver growth and assert independence. European nations joining BRICS would redraw the geopolitical map, marking a victory for Russia and China in challenging the US-led order. For the EU, this would shatter the principle of solidarity and expose deep internal divisions. An EU member in BRICS could veto actions against Russia or China, paralyzing the Union's foreign policy. The move would intensify the global divide between democratic and autocratic blocs, creating instability in Central Europe and the Balkans. Other nations might follow, risking a domino effect that could unravel European integration. The global chessboard is being reset, with every move carrying profound implications for peace and stability. The economic impact of a BRICS pivot would be seismic, realigning trade and investment patterns across Europe. Hungary and Serbia would likely see increased trade with BRICS, especially China, but risk disrupting established EU supply chains. BRICS offers an alternative financial system, reducing reliance on the US dollar and Western sanctions. Yet, Hungary's economy is deeply tied to the EU. Turning away could mean capital flight and exclusion from the single market. The promise of BRICS prosperity comes with high risks, and the trend could accelerate the fragmentation of global trade into competing blocs. The move by these nations is a potent sign of rising protectionism and deglobalization. Analysts warn this is the EU's most serious internal challenge yet. Dr. Anja Schmidt calls Hungary's BRICS exploration a red line, threatening the Union's geopolitical orientation. Dr. Kenji Tanaka notes that while Chinese capital is tempting, jeopardizing access to the EU market would be economic self-harm. Security experts fear a NATO member in BRICS could paralyze alliance decision-making and pose espionage risks. The EU must now confront whether it can accommodate members with divergent foreign policies. The choices made will define Europe's role for a generation. Europe stands at a crossroads, reassert union discipline, or risk fragmentation by external powers. The response to Hungary and Serbia will set the tone for the continent's future. In Washington, policymakers view these developments with deep concern. A fractured Europe weakens the US's primary partner and forces America to shoulder more global responsibility. The US must balance pressure and incentives, avoiding actions that push Hungary and Serbia further toward Moscow and Beijing. The situation validates US warnings about the risks of Chinese and Russian influence in Europe. Expect renewed calls for allies to de-risk from China and strengthen transatlantic cooperation. The US will support European unity, but prepares for a world where that unity is less certain. The competition for allegiance is ongoing, and complacency is not an option. This is more than a diplomatic dispute. It's a symptom of a world in transition to a contested, multipolar order. BRICS, once dismissed, now offers a credible alternative that even European nations are considering. The EU and NATO face a profound test. Their response will shape the future of Western alliances. Hungary and Serbia's destinies hang between the EU's economic gravity and BRICS' promise of sovereignty and investment. The choices made now will have global repercussions, affecting trade, security, and the rules of the international system. The ground is shifting, and the familiar landscape of global politics is being transformed. Europe's eastward glance is a critical chapter in this unfolding narrative, one that demands our attention and understanding.